Alrighty. This sounded so much better on like Thursday and Friday when I was live streaming when I didn't have a mask on, but we're gonna make this work here. All right, so. I wonder. Okay. Okay. All right, and welcome to our JP. I got to come up with a better name, but JP Tech Talks for now is what we're doing. We're going to talk with Adobe Premiere Pro. We're going to learn the basics of it, get started with it. The Adobe 2020 Adobe Premiere Pro. So if you haven't already started it, fire it up, get that open. I'm Mr. Wright, and happy to be joining you today with our JPTV Tech Talk here. So without further ado, we're going to jump right into our tutorial. So I will pull up my screen here, although I'm realizing that it is this one. Here we go. It has crashed itself, which is pretty classic for a Monday morning. Why would your computer ever do what it's supposed to do on a Monday morning? That would just be way too easy. Have to love all of that stuff. Let's go to here. Perfect. All right, so as you can see, I asked you to open up Adobe Premiere Pro. I'm in Adobe Illustrator. I was working on I was gonna try to come up with a new kind of logo for the class / the YouTube channel, all that kind of stuff. Haven't quite got there yet. We'll discuss probably Wednesday. We'll discuss a little bit about YouTube, uploading videos, making a YouTube channel, all that kind of fun stuff. If you haven't done it already, it'll be brand new for you, but if you have done it, it might be a little bit of a review, but that's super duper okay. Not a huge problem. So anyways, here we are ready to go. So open up Adobe Premiere Pro. Should look, let's see here. I was working on a project for the dance crew in our dance classes, trying to set them up with a new, with kind of like a digital showcase, if you will, and that is still, I'm working on that still here. So that might have been my last project that was open, but let's see what's up here. So Adobe Premiere Pro, not to try to crash your computers, but we also want to open up Photoshop at the same time. So let the one load, and then you can close the, or then you can open up the other one as well. So we want to have Adobe Photoshop open, and we also want to have Adobe Premiere Pro, and we'll kind of go back and forth between the two of them. So Adobe Premiere Pro should open and should look something similar to this when it pops open here. You will have a very similar sort of splash screen, kind of opening screen, similar to Photoshop. It gives you lots of different options. You can obviously just close this and go into Premiere Pro, but starting a new project from this window is very easy. Nice giant button for you to get started. It also shows any of the videos you've made in the past and gives you the options to do different work with them. There's these cool options with team projects and things. I've never really used them. It's a very new functionality. One of these days I'll take some time to fight my way through it, but I do know that you can work via the cloud. You can work with different partners and stuff, or via like an internal network. But in our cases, our computers don't really talk to each other that way, so it doesn't really work very well with us, that functionality. But regardless, here we go. So setting up a new project, we're just going to hit new project. It's going to bring up some different information here. Now this is one of the cases where you cannot, or at least shouldn't. It's not that you can't. Our network at the school is very fast, but last thing we want is for you to be getting slowed down accessing your files over the internet, or over the network, I should say. So keep that in mind in terms of what's going on. You want to make sure that you have your, how should I say? You want to make sure that you have your, you want to make sure that you have your project saved to the local machine, to your local computer, so that you have the ability to make those adjustments and to, how should I say, to work natively on your computer. If you're working over the internet, over the network, it just slows things down drastically. So give the name to your project. So this is going to be basic, what do we call it? Basic test video. And then you're going to browse. So where it says location, this is super important. You want to browse to in your guys' case, I believe you only have a C drive or you have your F drive and stuff. So you want to go to your Windows C drive and you need to make a new folder on your C drive and you're going to call it video. Can you guys confirm that that works? You should have some sort of a Windows drive. When you go to this PC, what comes up when you go to this PC? There's no like device drives, no local drives at all.
There's a BDRE drive. It says
BD-RE. Okay, I guess we're gonna have to go with F drive then. It's not ideal, but it'll still work. So there's no actual device drives, eh? That sucks. Okay, no worries. We'll make it work. It just might be slightly slower, and hopefully we don't kill off the network. Trying to do something a little bit crazy here. So. Okay, so if that's the case, then just use your regular F drive that you've already been using. Go into your COVID folder or into your block, whatever you're doing, and then make sure you've made a new folder that is called video. Okay, you want to make sure all your stuff is in the same place in this video folder. Once you have the video folder selected, you would just say select folder. Okay, so create a new folder. Monsieur Marco, what are you doing? But did you already create the folder?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Make a folder called video, select the folder, and then double check that it actually changed, right? So you should still have a name, basic test video, location is F COVID block 1. Actually put your name on these the name. So basic test video _ I'm gonna put right. You guys need to put whatever your names are. Very cool. What happens if I do this? Does this work? I don't know. That doesn't work. All right. In here, you'll also notice that there's a few different tabs and things that are set up. All of this stuff, the default stuff, just leave it as is. If we were capturing directly to Premiere Pro, which we're not, if you had a capture card, you would change a setting here. We're not dealing with any of this stuff. Where you need to double check though is you go to the scratch disk tab or the scratch disk options here. Just make sure that all of these, in years previous, they didn't default to same as project, but now they do, because you want all of your reference files and everything to show up in the same folder, the same video folder that you just created. It's super important that everything shows up in the same place. Okay. It'll also give you a size, like how much space you have left on that drive, just as an FYI. It's nice to know that. So If that's all good, then we're going to hit OK, and it will bring us into our initial Adobe Premiere Pro workspace. Okay, I am going to reset this. Okay, so your interface should look something similar to this. You may have an auto panel that pops up trying to give you tutorials or give you information or whatever. You can obviously close that because right now it's not needed, but it is handy. I mean, if you want to learn more about Adobe Premiere Pro, I will admit that one of the things that Adobe has done an amazing job of lately is integrating their tutorials directly in with the actual programs. So you can access those tutorials right from within Adobe Premiere Pro. You still might have to step aside to YouTube, but generally they've done a really good job of integrating things directly in there so that you can actually get viable help on the fly, which is really nice to see. So just taking a quick little tour of the workspace here, if you will. By default, we have our sort of source, what it's called our source panel and our program panel. So these sort of lend themselves back to what we would have in a scenario that's similar to when you're doing live video. So like right now, you see that this is the vMix software that I'm using right now. Looks like I don't know what's going on with this screen here, but I am still alive. Oh, it doesn't want to show itself. Maybe if I do that. Oh, I think I know what happened. It's like, it's gone and gotten stuck. Let's do this. Let's go here and fix this. I believe it's this one. No. There we go. Right here. So when you have a live video going on or a live scenario up, you have your preview and then you have your output window, whatever's going on. And then I have multiple clips that I can select from. So if you sort of mirror that over to Adobe Premiere Pro, they've kind of taken that same scenario or that same concept, if you will, and built the interface off of that. The general editing interface is built under that same premise, that you have a source of clip, or you have your preview window, you have your actual program, your finished video, you have a timeline, so you have some sort of a group of clips here, and then you have your media. In Adobe Premiere Pro, they have this what's called media browser, so it allows you to like directly go through and like open up your different drives and look for footage in the media browser. They also have the ability, if you just simply we're going to go to File, Import, you'd be able to pull in various different clips. So in this case, these are these dance clips I was referring to before. I'm going to use clips from in here for our demo footage. I'm pretty confident. Yeah. Okay, so there's various different pieces of footage. You will have your footage someplace on your videos. Okay, so when you're ready to bring in a video clip, you would bring in the video clip. As of right now, we don't really have any footage, and I haven't showed you how to upload anything. So we're not even going to worry about video footage right now. That's why I said we're going to actually create more of like a texty kind of thing to get started. So we still need a timeline because we're going to create some source footage and we're going to make our video here, our little animated video. We need to go at the bottom, just like you'd have a new, how should we say, just like you'd make a new layer in Photoshop or a new item in Photoshop. You go to new item and you want to create a new sequence. Okay, this sequence, if you look here, by default, of course, it always like jumps to the top set of specifications and stuff. Not ideal. I like what I like to do is I like to take whatever footage I'm using, and actually I can just show you that quickly here. I like to take whatever footage I happen to be using. So if I'm going to use, say, this Ed Sheeran video and manipulate it, I would take this initial video clip and I would drag it into the timeline, and the computer is going to automatically create a sequence. If you noticed, it looks like it kind of duplicated it, but this is the sequence. This is the actual original video clip. It's going to create that sequence with the same specifications, the same formatting and stuff. So when you do a new item, though, if you're starting from scratch and you're going to make a new sequence, you need to understand a little bit about video quality and everything else. Back in the day when I started teaching this class, we would go down here into this HD DV mode, and we would sometimes use DV NTSC. So these are like standard definition, square. These are HD, but like digital video quality, like not quite the same as what we have on YouTube. But nowadays, this RE, never use RE stuff. That's for like high-end, super amazing cameras. But the AVCHD is kind of the standardized sort of area where we've been hanging out in the last little while. And I would use one of the 1080p formats, and we're going to probably use 1080p 30 frames per second. So this is kind of a standardized setting, if you will. AVCHD 1080p by 30 frames per second. Okay, the number behind this refers to the frames per second. If you look into the sort of the preset stuff, it tells us that it's non-anamorphic, so it's not like a super wide angle setup. It says it's going to work on a 16:9 progressive scan 1080p DVD player or TV or YouTube channel or whatever it is. It's at 29.97 frames per second, which they always call 30, and the audio is a 48 kilohertz audio, which is kind of the standard generic audio, right? It repeats a bunch of those settings and stuff down here, some aspect ratio stuff that it's good to know that you're doing 1920 by 1080, but it's not super important. As long as you know which standardized one to click on, you should be off to the races. We can always render it as a slightly different quality. I'll show you what to render it as for YouTube specifically, but right now this is how we're going to start our project. And you want to give the sequence a name. So again, we're going to call it very similar to what we've been working on. So it's just the basic test video. And again, we're going to underscore last name, right? Okay. So this should be your name for your video. We're going to select OK here. And we're going to get moving into the next set of stuff here. So, as I mentioned before, I'm going to bring in some extra video clips just for you guys to see what happens. I don't want you to do anything right now. I just kind of want you to watch and experience this and see what's going on, and then you can all kind of learn as we go here. So, if you haven't already closed that extra panel that pops up, I would close it. It makes your timeline and everything a little bit bigger and easier to work with. So, like I say, don't bring in any extra stuff in at the moment. I'm gonna bring in. Let's see, what have I got here for videos that I can goof around with. Oh, let's do this. This will work. Okay. So, like I said, you don't have this piece of footage. I do. If you notice here, I tried to bring in this clip, and it says it's a mismatch in the sequence type. I could, because there's no other footage in here yet, it's telling me that the specific settings that I picked are different than what this video was captured at, which makes sense because it was captured, I don't even know, this was like the other day when I was teaching you guys how to do printing and stuff. So it was a different set of settings. So I could either, at this point, I could change the sequence to match this clip, or I'm just going to keep, in this case, the existing settings. Okay. This is was my video that I did with you guys the other day. Basically, just watching the videos, and then I talk for a little bit and whatever else. So we were talking about printing, and we watched a video, and it's kind of lame and whatever else. If all I wanted is maybe the clip from here where I'm talking about stuff, this is super easy. Okay, so before I even bring it into the sequence, if I double click on a video, it will come up in my source panel. I have the option then to scrub through. I could listen to the video, right? Hopefully your sound sounds better than this, but a lot of times the videos we're making, you're not even going to need the sound. But anyways, I can check through this. I can do what's called scrubbing, is this sort of technique of going through the video. I'm going to scrub through to the point of where I find that this tutorial video is done, right? And it ends. So now I want this clip to be like a separate clip. So because the beginning of the clip is just the beginning of the clip, this becomes the end of the clip. So there's these little brackets here, and it says mark in, mark out. So if I click here and I mark this as the output, I can now click on the screen and drag that video in as a finished video, and it will be only as long as what I cropped off, right? I could also bring in, if I just wanted the audio only, I could click on the little waveform here and I could bring in just the audio. Maybe I'm doing like a voiceover, maybe I'm doing a sound effect that I'm adding to a video, okay? I would bring in just the audio. I don't want the video associated with it. Or if I was doing something and I didn't actually want the audio in my way, I can also just bring in just the video portion, okay? Now, these two, they might line up and be similar. Gentlemen, stop talking, please. They might be similar because of where I placed them, but as soon as I put one of these over here and one of these over here, and maybe I made this one shorter, well, now good luck getting them to line back up again. It's going to be almost impossible. So be careful what you're doing. If you want something to stay joined together, I would bring it in as one clip and they stay glued together. Should you want to break them up for some reason, you can right click on them and you can do what's called unlink, and it allows you to then take these and separate them and do whatever you want with them. Maybe you don't even want the video anymore. Maybe you want to delete the video. Okay. If I'm going through this clip and I go, actually, that wasn't what I wanted. I want something else down the road. Maybe I just want the discussion part at the end of the video. I can change my in point to here, and I can scrub along, make sure that there's no weird stuff at the end. Oh, there's some black. I can back up a little bit. Right? That becomes my out point, and now I can drag in just that portion of the clip. Yeah. That portion of the clip for me to use in my editing, in my video editing and stuff. Okay? So these are your clips that you have to choose from. So anytime you add a video, anytime you add what I would call a resource into here, because it doesn't have to be videos, it can be graphics, it can be titles. You're going to bring those into here and they will show up for you to be able to use. Your media browser, same way. It's just another way that you could kind of search through and find the different items. So I can still go into Comtech Captures. It allows me to see the different videos that I've made over the last week and a bit or whatever, right? So maybe I want to use this, how to use the pen tool. So if I click on that video, drag it in here, it's going to automatically take that video and put it into my resource panel. so that I have reference to it later on down the road. Okay. Libraries works very similar, but it's more of like an online kind of thing. If you're somebody who's big into Lightroom and stuff, libraries make sense to you. It's where you put all your video footage, and you'd be able to pull your stuff from there. Info is just info about the specific movie clips that whatever you happen to have selected. Gives you the settings of the original clip, all that kind of stuff. And then effects is the next most useful panel. Okay, this is the one that we use. I'll say the most, but it's not really the most, because the footage is the one you use the very most. But I would take this effects panel and I would move it closer to your stock footage thing. So where you've got your basic project panel or panel tab, you want the effects to be the next one. Sometimes the effects is buried with these arrows. It's like down off in Never Neverland here. This is hard to get to, so we want to make sure that it's up here where we can get to it all the time. Okay, markers and stuff, more of an advanced feature, and same with history. It tells you what you've been doing this whole time, so it's kind of handy if you needed to back up or you wanted to undo something, but it's not something we would access on a regular basis. So if it was me, I would have the effects and the two right beside each other so that I can go back and forth between these two types of features, if you will, or these two banks of information. Working our way kind of around counterclockwise here. These tools here are the various different tools that you have to work with regards to your video. So you have the selection tool, which allows you to select a specific clip. It can also select multiple. So if you had multiple clips in here, so if I just cut this up into multiple clips, you'd be able to go in here and you can select multiple clips, and then you could move them all together as a group or move them around or do whatever you're going to do with them. Okay. The next tool down is the track select forward tool. Okay. I very rarely use this tool. I don't know. It's not something that I wouldn't say it's not highly useful, but it's handy for lining things up and stuff. Similarly, the ripple edit tool. This ripple edit tool allows me to, if I make an adjustment to this particular clip here, it just shortens by that particular amount. If I use the ripple edit tool and I shorten this clip, if you notice the starting point, here I'll put this back to the beginning so you can see, the starting point stays the starting point, because what it does is as you make the adjustment, it ripples and it'll pull all the video clips that are behind it forward by that increment. Gentlemen, quick question.
We just want to know what you want to print, like an idea of what you want.
Yeah, do you have any, like...
Because we want to go in real detail, but that would take pretty long.
Because, like, if you have something that you have written, what was this, vector, we can print that so that you can show something that you made and then print.
Oh, no, it's fine. How long was your print going to take?
We can print whatever you want, and then, like, how long...
The shortest would probably be 30 minutes.
Oh, no, that thing will record for like hours. It's fine. Just let it roll.
Alright.
Yeah, the longer the better to some degree. I'll go check on it after class, and if I have to put another SD card in it, I will, and it'll be fine. It'll look really cool, because when you speed it up, you could put a whole day into like 30 seconds kind of thing, right? So.
I only care about the time lapse, not the, like, because we were confused whether you wanted, like,
A detailed
show the
print?
detailed artwork, or...
Oh, no. I just care more about the motion and the movement and seeing something kind of come to life. It's not important.
Tall or something
No,
small?
I can pick something that will look really cool in the time.
Yeah, ideally, like something a little taller would be better, right? Because it's going to be, you're going to see it grow a little bit, right? But it's not it can be big and flat too. That's fine. It doesn't matter, whatever it is. So honestly, you pick whatever's going to be best for you to practice, and then we'll just benefit from that. So thanks, gentlemen.
Yeah, no problem.
I'll show you guys how to do a time lapse in a minute, but they're gonna print some stuff on the 3D printer for us. Okay, where were we at here? Oh, okay, so the ripple edit tool allows you to move things around in your timeline as you make adjustments to it. So if I move this clip in the middle and I shorten this clip by a certain amount, it would pull the other ones forward with it to take up the gap. If you use the selection tool and you do the same kind of action, if you move this forward, it leaves the gap. So that's the difference between the regular selection and the ripple edit tool. The razor tool, as it's probably very obvious, is like for cutting clips apart. So I can slice this up into lots of different sections, and it's pretty much infinite amount of slices there. The slip tool, if I'm not mistaken, allows me to move clips around here. I can kind of it shows, if you look on your thing, it shows like what the start and end are. So if your clip was just off by a little bit, but you wanted it to still fit in that specific section, you can use the slip tool to kind of move the clip forward, but not change the length of the time that it's exposed for. The pen tool is used more for, like, from a graphic standpoint, for making different kinds of overlays and things. I honestly have used the pen tool like one time in 10 years of editing. For basic editing, you would not use the pen tool. It's more for creating masks and different kind of fancy high-end effects. And then the hand tool, like normal in any program, it allows you to kind of move around your project. The text tool is kind of new to the newer versions of Adobe, in the sense that the text tool actually allows you to type on the screen, and you can type like titles and things. So if I was going to type this fun video, right, it would create that title for me. And if I look here, if I go to my arrow tool, I can move this around. I have somewhat flexibility for that clip. What I don't like about this particular tool is that it just puts the item in there, and you don't have, like, I don't know where that item, like, it just becomes part of your thing. And because it's only like a really, really short amount, if you look here, when I zoom way in, you can see that the title showed up, right? So you have to be kind of careful as to, like, when you use that, where is this going to show up? Like, is it going to jump to the right spot on your timeline? What's it going to do when you start making a new one, right? So if I move my cursor over here and I start to type again, right? See how it jumps and automatically pops into that space? So you just need to know how it reacts and what it's doing. And then I'll show you the specifics of it a little bit later. But you've seen me use this a couple times here. This is like the zoom sort of magnification bar. So I can zoom way out and see my entire timeline, or I can zoom way, way, way in and see like individual frames of the video, right? And so depending on what kind of editing you're doing, you're going to want to be in or out. It just allows you to do that in or out situation. If you use the shortcut like the Z key on the keyboard, it does the same thing. It allows you to zoom in and out. Similar to Photoshop, it's the same shortcut as in Photoshop. I tend to just grab this bottom line. You can also move along your video. If you don't want to zoom out all the way out to the full out, you can zoom along. Yeah, those are those basic sort of things. This, I heard it referred to as like the laser beam or your UFO laser beam tool or whatever, but it's basically just your cursor. It tells you where you are in your video. So it's really handy to know, because if you've zoomed way out and your cursor's way over here, and all of a sudden you're going to type something, it's going to show up way over here where your cursor was, right? It's not going to show up where your video clips are. So you just need to know what's going on. I've got a clip. Here's this other graphic that I brought in. We'll delete that for now. One handy tool that you'll see used lots is if you've got some gaps in your video footage, you can right click and you can say ripple delete, and it will shrink your video down to get rid of those gaps. It doesn't always work if you have multiple layers going on. So if I have these kind of, oh, this is another feature to watch, but if you have these sort of stacked on top of each other and in doing weird things, and then I tried to ripple delete this, it only can go so far because it can only take up whatever gaps there are. It can't like squish things down because it can't edit for you, right? So you just got to be careful of how you use that term or that tool. Also, you need to be careful of when you're moving videos around. So if I move this video here, I move it down, it's underneath these videos here. So you don't see this video, just like in Photoshop. So this is what the video looks like. It's me working on the TikTok logo. I bring that video over here under this part. Well, this is a different part of the tutorial. You can't see underneath these videos. You can mute them just like in anything in Photoshop. You can take this eyeball, turn them off for a second, look around what's going on, right? Because maybe you're doing multiple camera angles and you want to cut back and forth and you want to have one video show up and then the other video, right? So there's this, and then I cut to this one, and then I cut to this one. Depending on what you're doing, some people like to kind of stack things and edit like this. Other people like to edit very linear, so it's all in order. We're gonna do a quick little demo about like adding text and having multiple pieces of text motioning around. So we need to have those stack up on top of each other. But right now, you just need to know how this reacts. Be careful when you're moving a piece of footage around, because if I put this piece of footage over here, it will delete all of those pieces of footage that I just covered up. They're all now gone. So if I had made a whole bunch of edits and stuff and done some custom settings, they will have disappeared. So Control Z gets me back out of that. If I didn't want them to go over top of each other, I would need to move this up and move this audio down to an available audio track. And now I can put it over here and it won't delete this stuff. It'll just hover above. It covers them up, but then I can slice holes in it as I see fit to take out certain sections so that maybe it cuts from one to the other and then back again, right? Obviously, using video footage that's like a teaching tutorial, not ideal. So we're gonna have some fun here. This is where I need you guys to follow along. We're gonna create our own sort of footage. So you all by now should be half decent in Photoshop, and I need you to open up your Adobe Photoshop, and we are gonna make a quick little assignment in Adobe Photoshop and bring that into Adobe Premiere Pro and then give it some animation and some edits and stuff. If you're not following along, please try to, because you're gonna have to go through this again on your own to finish this video, like in order to do this video, this basic video. So sort of from here on out, please be following along. If you're not doing it already, I would highly suggest you open up Adobe Premiere Pro and try to follow along with us, and Adobe Photoshop. That means you guys sitting right in front of me doing nothing. Follow along, please. Okay, here we goes. So, create a new document in Photoshop. Because we're making a video, we can go into the film and video section and we can utilize the preset that is already here for HDTV 1080p, right? If you remember, we did the settings for 1920 by 1080. So this is how we're gonna go with this one. Select this preset and we should be good to go to hit create, and it will pop in there and give us a nice big white box to get started with. We are going to, basically we're going to animate our names and a picture of ourselves. So we're going to bring in the picture in here and our name in here in two separate instances. So firstly, bring in the picture of yourself. So go File, Place Linked, and see if you can find one of the pictures of yourself. I think I have it in here someplace. Resources. Where did I hide pictures of me? I don't remember where I put this, but I'm going to bring this in. We'll just use this as a thing. This is a picture that I already created. Your guys' is obviously going to look a little bit differently than mine. Yeah, actually, you know what? I'm going to do this a little differently. I'm going to open this by itself, and then I can yank this picture out of here. All right. Perfect. Okay, so you have a picture of yourself. You're going to make sure you scale it to fit the screen, right? This template that popped up here, it comes up with these extra guides that are on the screen, and it allows you to kind of know what we call them, the safe areas in our stuff. They would be the safe areas in our video, and they recommend not to have text go outside of these boxes, simply because different resolutions of TV may or may not show items outside of those boxes. So in this case, with this picture, we want it as big as we can get it, but it doesn't need to be like, make sure your eyes or your forehead or whatever, like, don't cut yourself off. Like, don't do this. That would be really bad, because you'd have your eyes be potentially outside of the screen, right? Make them nice off to the side here, right? And I will give you creative license. I happen to be kind of looking more or less to the left. It's just naturally better to have space on the left-hand side. So if it works better for you to have your picture on the right, though, because you're looking to the right, that's fine. I'm gonna leave it over here on the left-hand side, so it's good to go. My picture happens to have this border around it already. So if yours doesn't have a border around it, you can go to the effects panel here. You can add a stroke, and your stroke, in my case, it was a 9-point stroke. You can make it a little thicker if you wanted, but you just want to have an obvious line around your graphic. And we're just going to hit OK, and that will save that change. Okay. Then we're also going to add, we don't really want this bright white block to show up right away on our thing, so we're going to draw ourselves in a nice shape into the background here. So we're going to take the rectangle tool, and we're just going to draw basically a new background, and it's going to, of course, show up on top of our picture that we already placed. So we're going to do our settings to this first. We're going to go into our fill color. We're going to make it, let's make it the JP red here. So the JP red, if you're following along, it's a CMYK color. So I've memorized it as 26 cyan, 100 magenta, 100 yellow, and then it's 0 black. And this is our like official JP red. It looks kind of funny sometimes on computers. It's lighter than it is. It actually turns out more of like a darker maroon kind of red, but it still works. So we're going to take this background layer, and we are going to move it underneath our picture of ourselves. So we have our background layer, we have the picture of ourselves, And then we are going to add, on top of all of that stuff, we're going to add some text. So this text is going to come up here like this. And you got to watch how I do this because we need it in specific blocks of text in order to animate the different text. So you click in here, obviously set the size to be much bigger. I'm going to leave it with impact, but you can change the font if you'd like to change your font depending on what your last font used was. It might come up with something that's a little bit hard to read. So we're going to call this Basics of Adobe Adobe PP would sound a little inappropriate, so we'll go Premiere. Okay. You can actually put this onto 2 lines if you need to. Basics of Adobe Premiere Pro. Okay. And you can have this be one setup. I have my text centered. If it's not looking like mine, it's because it might be left justified. So I've got it centered so that it just shows up nice and even. So we have one line that says Basics of Adobe Premiere Pro. We're going to create a new text document or a new text line. So we go to the horizontal text again, and then we're going to call this, you're going to put your name in here. Now if you bring this Lorem Ipsum over here, you can see these little pink lines show up. That tells you you're in the center or you're lined up with the one above you. So if you do that first and then you double click, you're able to go in here, and I'm going to change this to my name. So Donovan, right? And then you're going to have one more line underneath this. So create a third text box. If you want, you can obviously type in it first before you move it around. And then this one is going to be my position. So in this case, it's teacher. And underneath that, I'm going to put Jasper Place High School. You guys, on the other hand, are obviously going to put student Jasper Place High School. If anyone tries to pretend that they're a teacher at Jasper Place, that would be a little bit hilarious. So make sure you put student in here. Student Jasper Place High School. And then because in my case this looks a little bit too big, I'm going to actually shrink down the Jasper Place High School so that the font is a little bit smaller on that third line. Okay. I like it in white. It's going to be easy for us to see and edit and work with. I'm going to bring this down just a pinch for myself here and sort of center my name. So you've got Basics of Adobe Premiere Pro, your name, student, Jasper Place High School. Okay. We're going to take this document now and we're going to do a file save as, and you're going to save it into your F drive where you have your video footage. So go to your block, your ComTech block, find your video folder, and you're going to drop it in there. Now, obviously don't just untitled it. You can have this be, call it title screen maybe. And we're going to leave it as a Photoshop document, as a PSD, because Adobe Premiere Pro will allow us to break this apart into layers and actually work with the individual layers of the document in Adobe Premiere Pro. Without having to create multiple layers and titles and things in Adobe Premiere Pro, which is kind of clumsy. This allows us in a program that we already know and already have worked with to create those different layers and to work with them a little more seamlessly. Okay, so we're going to save this Photoshop document. It's going to give you this error if you haven't told it to not show. Just hit OK. And then we're going to pop back into Adobe Premiere Pro. I feel like I need like a Nerf ball or something to toss at you guys that are not paying attention. What are you doing? Is yours done? But you didn't, yours does not look like mine. You missed like 12 steps. How do you do the color? You draw a big shape. You draw a big box and you make it red. Okay? Try to follow along. So, I'm going to leave this Photoshop document open, and I'm going to do it on purpose so that you can see how the two programs kind of relate to each other. So, we're going to go into Adobe Premiere Pro again. And now, if you notice here, I've kind of filled up this box, right? So, if I needed to bring in a new item now, I could search for it. So I could create new search for bin or query or whatever. I could use my media browser, or I could just go File, and I can just say Import. So when I go File, Import, it's going to pop open, and I'm going to be able to search for that folder that I have my video in, and I'm going to look for the title screen Photoshop document that I already created. When I select this title screen document that I've already created here, it's going to say importing files, and it brings up this little window, and it asks if I would like to merge all the layers, or it gives me the availability to have it be individual layers, or I could bring it in as a sequence by itself. I'm not going to do that, but I want to bring in the individual layers. Okay, so you need to make sure that you select individual layers. The footage is going to be just the regular document size, right? If you bring it in as the layer size, certain layers are going to be different sizes, right? Like the picture of your head is only a portion of the screen. So it could come in and be much bigger or much smaller and be awkward. Then you're going to have to reline things back up again. Whereas if we bring it in as document size, this allows it just to fit properly. I can just drag it across onto my timeline, and everything should work fairly seamlessly. So make sure that it's individual layers. All of the layers are checked, and I'm going to select OK, and it will now bring in a bin for me that says title screen, and inside it has all my different items that make up my document. Okay. Obviously, if I brought all of those in just one at a time, it's lovely. I now have a black or a red thing, and I can make it as long or as short as I want. If I tried to bring this one in next to it, though, it doesn't show up at the same time. It's two separate kind of clips, if you will, and that's obviously not what we want. So we want to make sure that we're stacking them back up again on top of each other. So essentially you're recreating your graphic here with the different puzzle pieces, and I would try to stack them in some semblance of order that makes it easy to tell what's what in your different timelines here. Okay, so right now they're all a little bit on the short side. And right now you've got the red background that starts first, and then all the other clips show up. Okay, obviously that's not what I would consider epically interesting or very fun. So we want this red background to go from black and to fade in by itself. So this is the cool part about Adobe, is that there is like 100 million different effects and transitions and stuff. So if you go to the Effects tab, you can go through and you can select your video transitions, and there's all kinds of different transitions. So I could do a flip over, a 3D flip over, and it's going to show me, it's going to spin like that. Does that look very good? Maybe not. I would tend to start a video with a dissolve, right? Or we would start it with a dip to black maybe. So you'd have this basic dip to black. And now it's hard to sort of see here. I'll try to move these down a little so everyone can see better, because we're only making like a short little video, right? So we have 0 on our timeline. Maybe I'll move this back like 1 second. So we've got black, and then it fades into red. Okay, and all I had to do there was take this effect and drag it on top of the various clips that I want them to be. Okay. So that fades in. It takes like 1.5 seconds for it to be fully faded in. And then we're going to take the picture of ourselves and our text, and we're going to have our text. You can kind of pre-stagger it like this so that the text shows up in the same order that you would read it, right? Okay, and then I'm going to let you have a little bit of fun with it. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a cross dissolve on my picture, and you can actually extend the cross dissolve for quite a bit longer. So if you want to get closer, you can continue, like I say, to zoom in, or you can zoom out. So I'm going to have this cross dissolve be really slow so that it really slowly fades in. I think if you do a dip to black, it'll actually mess everything. Does that? Yeah, it like dips the whole video. If you notice, like halfway through there, it dips everything to black. So you got to be careful which transitions you pick, because some of them affect the entire screen kind of thing, right? This film dissolves another good one. It kind of just fades in, right? And then I want this text to do something kind of interesting. So maybe I'm going to do a push for the first one, and maybe a paint splatter for the second one. And a page peel for this third one. Okay. So what it's going to do is it's going to do different things. Oh, the page peel is lame. That doesn't work. Let's do... We'll do this whip pen. Okay. A quick way for you to play your video and to see what it looks like is using the space bar. Assuming you have the timeline selected, you can hit the space bar and it'll play through your video. So you should have something similar to this. Actually, I really like that whip. I'm going to put that on both. I'm just going to put it on all 3 of them, I think. You can have whatever you want. I like these. I think it looks like a solid thing. This fade is a little too long for my liking. Fades in. There, and you're done. Okay. Now, the other day, there's lots of places online that you can get there's lots of different places where you can get kind of stock royalty-free music and stuff. Some of them you have to have places, or have to have like licensing. Some of them you have subscriptions and all this kind of stuff. Ben Sound is what it's called. Is a good website that I found that allows you to grab chunks of sound or kind of background sounds and stuff that give you the ability to use them free. They ask you that you give them credit in your YouTube videos if you're going to post it to YouTube or whatever. Unless you're going to buy a subscription, then you don't have to post that stuff. So depending on what you're doing, if we're doing like say a corporate kind of thing, right? Kind of a fun little deal. I'm going to download this one, and I'm just going to download the free version of it. So it will download that audio for me. So again, it's bensound.com. When you're making your videos, you can go to bensound and find a video. You don't have to do this right now, but I just wanted to show you this at the same time, how a pretty semi-boring video doesn't really look like a whole lot when you have this stuff happening. But if I go in here and I add in a sound that I just downloaded, I'm going to cut this and I'm going to put it in my folder with all my other resources here. So if I take my Ben Sound video, right, and then I'm going to put this in as my audio track. So now right, just gives it a little more feel. It's still kind of a lame video, I'm not gonna lie. Like we're not making the next Jurassic Park here, but it gives you something. And then to finish up our little basic video here, we are going to shrink all these because we don't want to sit and have the music can play for a little while. But if this is just sort of like the intro to our video, really like after 5-6 seconds, this is like enough. We're done, right? So I'm going to shrink the ends of all these clips to that point. I'm going to watch it one more time, make sure that this one is not too short to be able to read it. Right, so it might be a little on the short side, so maybe I'll extend that out just a pinch. Oops. Okay. And then all of these 4 clips, I want them all to have the same effect, and also this last clip, which is extended way too long here. Bring this one in. And same with our music. I'm going to shrink our music down, and I'll show you how to fade that out nicely. So all of our clips, this is the point where they must be on fully. If I started to put in a fade now, it would actually take away from the clip. So I'm going to look here. It's not quite 7 seconds. So we want maybe like a 2-second fade at the end. So I'm going to extend these all by 2 seconds. This is pretty long and exaggerated. I don't think you'd ever do it quite this slow, but whatever. It works for what we're learning here. Again, I'm going to go back to my effects. Now I'm going to find that I can do the dip to black, or I can do a cross dissolve, or I can do this film dissolve. I'm going to try this film dissolve for all of these, right? So I'm going to bring this all in on all of the clips, so they will all fade at the same time and for the same general duration, right? If I want, I can extend these all, right? I want them all to be a 2-second dissolve. And then our music, we want our music to fade out so that it's at 0 when these all hit black. So same deal, but now I'm not doing a video transition. I'm going into the audio transitions, and I'm going to use a constant power fade, and same deal, extend it for those 2 seconds. So now my video is playing along. And it fades out, right? Seth is saying Kevin MacLeod. Is it a website or what is it?
It's on YouTube. If you search on lots of copyright music. It's a little bit overused,
But like lots of copyright free kind of stuff, yeah? Okay, perfect. Anyways. So really simple video you're going to create. Fades out to black, right? Obviously that's a slightly abrupt ending here, so maybe you even want to bring this sound one forward just a little bit more, right? So that it still is playing music as it gets to black. But it's kind of your call as the designer, how you want to have that be set up. Now that we have this little video created, very similar concept to Adobe InDesign in the sense that you can't, like if you sent me this video clip, if you saved this Premiere Pro file and tried to send it to me, it would be nothing. I wouldn't even be able to start to open it because I don't have the graphics, I don't have the music file, I don't even have access to your F drive to create those things, right? And so you really, this next thing is super. Okay, hang on a sec, Daniel. I'll answer your question in a second. The next step is majorly important. Okay, you need to export your video when you're finished. It is not considered I would not consider this a video yet. This is a video project, or this is a Premiere Pro project. You are making a video, but you have not made the video yet until you finish this next step. What's your question? Yes. Okay, so I'll back up just slightly. So let me kind of do this in order. So Daniel was saying that his picture is like way too big. So it came in as something that was like gigantic, if I'm understanding that correctly, right? Yes?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, you think so? Okay, so it's probably that your video is like your video timeline was different than your Photoshop project. Okay, if your video is if your picture comes in too big, there's a couple different things. I'm gonna make this. What's the best way to show this? Okay, if it's too big, you can double click on the program screen with that clip selected, and you can change the size of it just like you would be able to in any editing program, like in Photoshop or whatever. It's just like a transform thing. Be careful though, because if you have multiple elements that are all different sizes, you want to make sure you don't change them all to weird sizes. So the first thing I would do is there's an automatic, if you right click on a clip, there's an auto scale to frame size here. So by hitting scale to frame size, it will make sure that it shrinks your video footage down to fit within the frame. If I brought in, I wonder if I could make something that's really big here. So if I go to this Photoshop document and I go image size, and I make it substantially bigger. So say I make the height to be 28. It's going to make it gigantic, right? This will answer your guys' question, how to bring things in as well. So I've made this giant picture here. I'm going to save as title screen 2, so I don't overlap my other one. So this is now monstrously huge. So when I go File, Import, right? I'm going to import the title screen 2. This time I'm going to import it just as one picture, just for reference here. So I'm going to say merge all layers and hit OK. If you're bringing this in and you want the layers, you need to go to individual layers, right? But I'm going to merge all the layers, hit OK. So it brings it in as this big picture here. If I drag this picture and I plunk it onto my screen, it's much too big, right? But it's the right aspect ratio. So all I have to do is right click on it and say scale to frame size, and it shrinks it and it fits to the right frame size, right? And you can do that same action to multiple layers. So you could click one, shift, like hold shift down and select all 5 of them. You could right click and you could say scale to frame size on all of them, and they would all adjust accordingly. Okay. What was the question? that answered your question, right?
Yeah, but it's grayed out.
The import button is grayed out.
Yeah, like I can't click it.
It might be because you're in the middle of an action. So try hitting the enter key and like get out of whatever you're working on, and then try again. Go to import. Did that allow you to get unstuck? No, yes, maybe so. Not doing anything?
I'm clicking enter, it's not letting me click off.
Are you...
Yeah, I'm not on any actions or anything, so it's not letting me open.
Huh.
And my PC just froze.
Oh, that's because I took control of it. Hang on. If you do this, if you just double click here, does this work? No, nothing. It's weird that you have this like lock here that I don't know why. I don't know why you have a lock. Here. Turn that off. So now you should be able to edit things, Seth. Seth had accidentally gone in here and clicked this. You can make this read only. Yes, I'll save. And I guess it just locks it so that you don't accidentally mess it up, which is kind of a cool feature. Actually, I've never ever used that. I didn't even know it existed. So kudos to you for finding something new. Anyways, we'll keep it in edit mode. Okay, so we have our files. I'll show you how to export this so that this is kind of finished. But then I want to, you guys can just kind of watch. And if you have any questions, I'd love to field questions from you guys in terms of different techniques you'd like to know how to do, so that when you're doing your video editing and stuff, you can work through it. Obviously, the basic tutorial, this will be the finish of the basic tutorial, but we can field some questions, and they're nice to have on in terms of going through things. So I know I didn't mention it before, but you can mess around with your like panels and your tabs and stuff. You can totally customize your view to how you best work. If you want, like for me, a lot of times this source monitor, it's kind of just wasting a bunch of space. So sometimes I might take the effects tab and I might bring it up here on the side so that I split this one in half so that I have my effects readily available. And then I can also edit here. I can still preview stuff very effectively. And then one thing that we didn't talk about is the effects controls, this one here. So when I've selected a clip, these effects controls, they talk about individual clips specifically. So this clip, I could change the position of it in terms of, I can move it left or right. I could scale it up or down. And all of this stuff can be set up. I can rotate it if I wanted to. So I could kind of make my own custom transition, if you will. And if you're doing a lyric video, if you choose to do a lyric video for one of your final videos, you will find this stuff invaluable in the sense that you can go through and hang on, I gotta put this back to where it was before. You can go in and you can actually do what's called keyframing. So I can bring this to the beginning of this clip. I can turn on these stopwatches here. and for rotation. And what happens is as the clip comes forward, I can actually take this and I can add in now, if I started to rotate this, and then I moved a little further forward, right? Then I moved further forward, then I moved further forward. I want this to be 0 again, right? It's actually gonna like animate that text now in a crazy way, like it's gonna come swirling in and back up again because of the way that I've set up that rotation. And so there's like a whole bunch of crazy stuff you could do to, yeah, go, and to all your different stuff. I could make it get bigger. I could make it get really small, right? I could also change the position and stuff. And a lot of this can also be done like super custom. You can go in and make a whole bunch of different adjustments to it. If I drop this arrow down, I can actually like change points all around, and I can change the velocity as to like how fast it's moving from one point to the other. And there's a lot of crazy stuff you can do. I would need to make this go back to the beginning here though. So if I put a stop in here and then I reset it, right? So you can see that there's almost endless stuff you could do to be creative with your text, with your objects. You can do those same animations to everything that you're working with. I am not going to keep those. I'm going to take them off. So delete those and just reset everything here. Take off the keyframes. Okay, so anyways, back to our normal basic video. And then this, like I said, this is a project, right? We haven't done anything with this really, like to make it into a full video. So I have to export it. Just like we had to export to PDF in InDesign, for Adobe, we need to go File, Export, and we're going to export our media. Now, this will be grayed out. If you've clicked on your, say, your program window, or you're up in your effects window, when you go to like File, Export, Media, oh, maybe they fixed it. It always used to like not even show up. Like you couldn't even do anything. Nothing would happen. Although nothing is happening, so maybe it still doesn't happen. Maybe they just didn't gray it out in the new version. Who knows? File, Export, Media. Let's see if something works this time. Yeah, there, that worked better. Okay, so just make sure you have your timeline selected. It works the best when you have your timeline selected. We're going to go to File, Export, Media, and then by default, it often will pop up with the H.264 encoding, which is the standardized Adobe, or like Adobe's equivalency for what works on YouTube. If you look here for output, it says classroom video is going to output to the basic test video write.mp4. This is a file format that YouTube will accept. It's 1080p. It's progressive, hardware encoding, blah, 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 blah. All the different stuff sets up here. It tells me what my basic video settings are, that it's 1920 by 1080. It tells me it's 29.9 frames per second. And most of this default stuff I never, ever, ever touch. I'm not what I would consider an expert in video and all the different formatting. Like, look at them. There's 30 different types of things you can pick. When I started doing video editing back in the day, AVI was the standard, and we would sometimes use Windows Media, sometimes QuickTime, but this H.264 is the standard for YouTube, so we're going to stick with that because it works the best for us. It tells us what our estimated file size is 12 megabytes, which is not super huge because it's not a very big video. You can kind of scrub through here minus the sound, and you can just make sure you've got the whole video. It's only like a 9-second long video. We don't want, if all of a sudden this thing said that it was like 2 hours and 29 minutes, it would trigger you that there was an issue, so you'd want to cancel, make sure there wasn't some random clip that you had accidentally left way down your timeline. So this shows us what is going on. We're going to hit export at that point. And this is such a short little video, it's only going to take like a few seconds for it to render. And now if I go to my video folder, nothing's there. Okay, so the reason that happened is because you have to do this one step. So when you go File, Export, Media, you have to check where this is going. Okay, so you need to click on this output name, and this will allow you to like find out where it's going. So in this case, it's going to some random place that I didn't want it to go, right? So I need to go to my F drive, I need to go to my video folder, and now the video will get exported to the proper place. So when I hit save and I hit export, it's going to analyze the sound in the video, it's going to analyze the video itself, and it exports it out. And now my finished video should show up where I expected it to show up, which was in my video folder with the name basic test video right _1. And if I double click on this, it'll now play as an actual video in okay. Yeah. So that's how that all works. Okay. I realized, I don't know if I just realized that now it should work. Yeah. I had turned off the recording for sound, the ambient noise sound. So those of you who are online, I apologize you didn't have any sound for the watching me work with sound on the video clip. But if you have questions specific to that, let me know, and I can help you out with that. So now that would be considered sort of finished, if you will. So I'll stop at this point and I'll post this video later today so that you guys can go through it. But we've got about 20 minutes or a half an hour here. And I want to first show you the time-lapse feature. And then I would love to just answer any questions that you guys might have in terms of potentially just effects or stuff that you might want to try and don't know how to do it. Let's just use this last kind of half hour or 20 minutes as a bit of a trial and error. You're more than welcome to obviously start on your project. If you can kind of remember the steps, you can work on it. But I'd like to, as best as possible, get through a bunch of the practical stuff today so that you can work on your projects over the next couple days, and I can just sort of answer questions as they come up. But if anyone has any specific ideas or questions, let me know. I'm just going to bring in this video footage from this camera. Where on earth is all of the... where is this stuff? I tried to record a video, but I feel like that'll work. Yeah, okay. It's a funny video format here. And it also hang on. If you know you're going to be bringing in multiple clips that are a little bit clumsy and you don't want to have to deal with them, you can make what's called a bin. And then it's just like a folder basically in video. And then now I can bring those video clips into this folder. It just keeps things a little more organized, less confusing down the road. If I hit open, hopefully it will import all of these files for us. So here is all of these video files. I am going to drag all of these into the timeline. Oh, of course. Why are they not in the right order? Well, that's just no fun. Well, that's just frustrating. Okay. Let's zoom way out here. This is going to get real big real fast. 0. And then we want clip number 1. Does this look like it overlaps? Oh, one of the problems with big, huge video clips, if you look here, it's still kind of looking at the clip. It's still rendering it and it's still analyzing it. So it takes a little while for it to show up sometimes. What order does this go in? I assume it goes 0 to 11. Oh, maybe this is just nothing. Maybe the rest of these are just blank. What's number 2 do? Oh, maybe Miss Parsons printed like multiple versions of it. Oh, so this is maybe different stuff. Okay, in that case, we're going to do this a little bit differently. Working off of an SD card is not the fastest set of procedures, so I'm just going to copy it to the hard drive here and it'll go a little faster for us. So. So if I bring in this video, it is, how long is this thing? So it took this 3D printer It does need everything. 0. I realized when I watched back this footage that it definitely was a funny angle because this bar is in the way like the whole time almost while it's doing this, but okay. That's a lot of clips. So this is an almost 2 hours worth of 3D printing, and we're going to squish it way down into a more manageable size here. Did I accidentally delete my thing? I did, didn't I? Oh well. So if I just go to speed duration here and I change the speed to be like 1000%, if I just hit OK, it like leaves a gap between all of the clips. That is obviously not what we want. I would want to click this little thing that says ripple editing, shifting, trailing clips. And let's see if I can go 2000%. Will it go that much? Yeah. So now it turned that really long video into a much shorter, much more manageable video. Still 6 minutes almost, right? So you could go probably even shorter potentially. There's a good reason to, when you have clips like this where you're not sure what the sound is going to sound like, you can right click on them, you can unlink them, and then you can delete the sound from here. And then maybe we'll just bring this same audio clip in here. Let's go right click again, speed duration. Let's make it 3000%. Oh, almost in the right thing. This is like crazy fast now. If you ever want to watch something full screen, you can click on a box and it's the tilde key, so just beside the number 1, it's like the squiggle key. You push the, oh, of course, not when you're here. Select the box, tilde key. You can go full screen and then you hit play and you can watch it go. Hang on, this is a little jittery. Let's try this a different way. Let's go. Let's make this fit inside the video here. And we're going to get rid of this titles. Triple delete. And we are going to export this video. Export video as time lapse 3D print. This is much better. Because there's so much video for it to go through, if you look, it says it's going to take 20 minutes. Even though it's only like a 1 minute video clip, it takes a while to render sometimes. While this is working, does anyone else have any questions specific? Yeah.
How do you do like the stage for like the words and the portrait?
Okay. Yep. Maybe I don't think I can render. I can't render stuff at the same time. Basically, what you're going to want to do though is you're going to want to bring in your go to your effects, and then you're looking for a video transition of some kind, and that's how the fades get brought in from there. Yep. Yep. Pardon? How do you add the audio? The same way you would add a video clip, so you can go File, Import, and then just select the audio, and it'll come into your bin of stuff, and you can drag it in to the audio layer. That's the easiest way. You just have to make sure that sort of thicker gray line in the middle separates your audio is all below it, and your video is all above it. So you have to drag it into the bottom. When you imported it, it'll show up in your bin of stuff. So your project, it'll be in your project tab there.
So do you export this project now?
Like format wise, or what do you export? Like you just go with the default that H.264 is what you want for an export. Well, while it's rendering, I'm going to see if I can get this to work. There is a way for me to show my name, but there's also got to be a way for me to show why does it select that? Oh, here. Ah, cool. There you go. Does this just go to whatever the last one was? Nice. Well, that's kind of cool. Can I make this bigger while I'm working on it here? Nope. Well, that's cool. So, like, while I am doing something that might be taking a while, I can put my screen back up and I can talk to you guys. That's kind of slick. I like that. Anybody else have any other questions? Seth, do you do a lot of gaming and stuff?
Yeah.
You seem like the comments, like the really short, quick comments that you like type are indicative of whenever I'm watching like you live stream YouTubers and stuff. Like the stuff just flies by and it's like almost incoherent because people don't type like full paragraphs, but it's because you can't read that because we just go too fast, and so you end up typing in like these weird like gibberish shorten sentences and stuff. Apparently, combining 2 hours worth of footage down into like 30 seconds takes a lot of processing power, because this thing's working pretty hard, and it's still recording my video, and it's sending it out to Google Classroom, which, impressive as it might be, is slowing us down here. Does anybody else have any questions, ideas and stuff? Tomorrow we'll talk a little more specifically about what I want you to create with your videos. If you don't have all your video footage done that you were supposed to record over the weekend, please make sure that you get that recorded tonight. It's supposed to be a nicer day out there. Actually, I have heard the weather might get really nice here in the near future. Someone was saying it's only -1 right now with a high of 3, I think. 2 or 3, yeah. So plus digits. Tuesday is going to be +9. Next week, plus digits during the daytime, almost every day. +8 on Sunday. So that's kind of nice. I think that's actually our like seasonal norm as opposed to stranger things have happened.
Go to the bend sound one. That's the Adobe stock. You have that Adobe stock. If you happen to have an Adobe account. Oh, did yours work? Like you went to Adobe stock and it worked. Oh, try it. Weird. Do you have like a different account that you actually have a? You might have a. Well, that's weird. Try signing. Did it? Oh, but did it sign in with your personal Google? Like is this?
No, mine.
I don't know then. That's weird. Anyway, the bend sound went off. It's all one word. Yeah, then hit enter and it'll search for that. Exactly that. Copy it first. So one, don't copy 6 or 4 or whatever. And you only have to do like the first like 45 seconds to a minute because it does add real fast. Pardon? Question? You can place it wherever, but you still have like even stuff like that, like your sleeves and stuff here, right? Like we could do something like that. So placement doesn't matter. Like I don't care where we're gonna put those things. You just have to use it to make sure that if you do want it like on your arm or on a chest or something, it's sized correctly. Possibly or bigger, but I don't know. Like so, go to the rulers, go to view, and then do the rulers. And so right now, this is 8.5 inches, right? And so you've got it about 7 inches, so it's like 7 inches is about like that much, right? So that might be too big depending on where you want to put it. Are you gonna bring it to like the front of the drag? Click and drag. Yeah, well, I'm not gonna do it. Go to the front end of the clip. Show me the. usually the storyboard would be like, sorry. Right. Or if you do them all for the end, that's fine. As long as it's consistent, whatever you do, as long as it's consistent.
Jan, get to work, man. Jan, get to work. Okay. Let's see what this looks like. So that took a little longer to render than I thought it would. What if I That's kind of cool. Cool. That's kind of slick. Well, that is apparently the wrong angle to view that from, but that's cool.
Didn't you make the angle upwards, like on the top?
I could have or should have. I didn't, but I could have.
Call this a printer because it's not a printer.
Yeah, it prints out filament.
Well, not paper, but like what?
No, it's a 3D printer. Why would?
It's my first time hearing it.
Yeah. Okay. Get to work, please. So tomorrow we'll get back into the same similar stuff, I guess you could say. I'm gonna post this video so you can all work on it tomorrow, and also we will be able to go through the various different assignments that you've already got in terms of your footage, and try to compile that into something that will be more like a video instead of just a whole bunch of random shots. I'll be available to help out. There won't be as much teaching. It'll be more just question and answer. But yeah, tomorrow should be a fun day. And thank you for those of you who joined us from online. I know it's not ideal for you to be watching online instead of be here with us in person, but I'm glad you were able to take advantage of the technology. And it's good to hear from you or see your logo on the screen here. And yeah, other than that, hope you all have a fun day. So to those of you online, we'll see you later, and I will post this video, not the whole thing of course, but I'll post the main tutorial portion of it. I'll cut it down and post it for later today for you to be able to see that. So anyways, thank you again. Yeah, talk to you later.